Right, I thought it would be a great opportunity to talk to you. I'm aware that the YouTube channel is getting traffic that sometimes isn't related to the church, so I thought it would be a great opportunity for you to introduce yourself. And I thought it would be really good for people within the church and out of the church to know what lockdown ministry looks like for you as the vicar of the church, and a little bit hard to explain, I'm sure, but what the future potentially looks like, what ideas you're having, and so on. You up for that?
I am, yeah.
Fantastic. To begin with, I'd love it if you could just give me I'm going to call it a lift introduction of yourself. So imagine you've got into a lift with someone that you've never met before. You're both travelling up to the 20th floor. You've got a finite amount of time to explain who you are, what you do, and what your ministry is like. What would you say?
Okay. I think I'd say that, hi, my name's Richard. I'm married to Julie. I'd say that we have 3 children. We live in Tunbridge Wells. We have a dog as well, a Labrador. And I would say that I'm the vicar of a church, which I love. And when I'm not vicaring, I enjoy all sorts of things. I love sport, all different types of sport. I tend to spend more time watching my kids play sport these days than playing it myself, but that's the way it is. I love music. I play the guitar, and that's one of my real passions. And I guess one of the things that I've loved in lockdown is having a little bit longer to enjoy doing that. Just generally enjoy family life and all that goes with that.
Amazing. Fantastic. I'm going to throw some quick fire questions your way.
Okay.
The first answer that comes to your head, there's nothing too deep in this. Question 1, favourite food?
The first thing that came to mind was curry. I think that's because I'm hoping to have one tonight. So that's
great.
It's just on the mind.
Takeaway or cooking at home?
I think probably tonight a takeaway.
Oh, even better. Marmite, love it or hate it?
If I've only got those 2 options, I'd say love it.
Okay. Favourite holiday destination?
Oh, that's really tough. I'm going to say in the UK, I love the north coast of Devon and Cornwall. So like Ilfracombe, Woolacombe, those sort of areas. I've always loved going on holiday there. And abroad, I don't know, anywhere abroad is always fun and exciting.
Fair enough. Dog person or cat person?
Absolutely a dog person.
You're right. Run or bike ride?
Probably bike ride.
Yep. Chocolate or sweets?
Chocolate, definitely.
An action film or a romantic comedy?
That's not even a question, Josh. Action film. Carry on.
I'm surprised by the other answer. Okay, final question. If you could meet any of the first disciples right now, who would you choose to meet?
Wow.
I said they wouldn't be deep. I lied.
I'll go Peter.
Okay, any reason?
I guess I think we know probably more about him than the others, and I think therefore his life just kind of throws up some questions. I'd just love to hear more of his experiences, and I guess he just is a fascinating character.
Yeah,
I love his humanness, I think, that comes across.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Okay, so silly bit out of the way. How are you and the family finding lockdown?
Personally, I think we're probably, like many people, kind of journeying through moments that we're enjoying and really enjoying, and then moments that are really tough. I guess one's always aware of the bigger picture and the struggle that lots of people are going through, and the fact, I guess, that lockdown isn't the end to that struggle. When lockdown ends, that's not the end of the challenges. But just on a very personal level, I think we've just journeyed through those moments where we've enjoyed it, but at the same time aware of plenty of challenges to family life and work life and all of those things that have, that have made it a difficult season as well. So a real mix of experiences, but generally speaking, we're doing okay.
Fantastic. How have you found that ministry has changed for you in this time? And are there any obvious positives to that? And likewise, what obvious negatives could there be to that?
Yeah. I mean, I guess of course, life has hugely changed for everybody. I guess in terms of ministry, the goal remains the same. We want to be in the business of making disciples. We want to be in the business of seeing God's kingdom come, on earth as it is in heaven. And, that remains the goal. But I guess the means by which we're now trying to work towards that end has obviously changed. And I guess within that, there are positives and there are definitely negatives as well. I mean, I think some of the positives are particularly around sort of technology, and I think an opening of our eyes to what technology can do and the benefits that it can bring. So, in your introduction to this interview, you talked about the fact that people are logging into our YouTube channel that don't normally come to church. Now, they may be churchgoers from elsewhere, but of course they may not be. And so it feels as though the lockdown and the move to online church has really given us a greater reach, not just us, but the church as a whole. It was great, the other week to be able to catch up with our mission links via Zoom in our service. And, even though the technology has been there to do that for ages, it's something that maybe we haven't embraced in the way that we should. And I guess one of the positives that's come out of the lockdown experience in terms of ministry is that is an embracing of technology and the way that can further the mission. I guess the negatives are around, the fact that whilst technology helps in some ways, it also other things take a lot more time as a result of not being able to be in person. And of course, just that simple lack of connection with people, people going through pastoral difficulties and that type of thing. There's obviously, an obvious negative is the fact that you're not able to be with them. You're not able to see them in person. I think that's particularly apparent when you take funerals and that type of stuff. It just feels really awkward not even being able to shake people's hands and that type of thing. So, yeah, I guess it's been a season of real positives and negatives. I think some of the things that have encouraged me have been the fact that new opportunities have opened up. And in some ways, it's an unfortunate set of circumstances that have led to those opportunities. But within those circumstances, it's been great for us as a church to be able to reach out to people and to support people. And I guess, a great example of that would be the community larder that we run. Yeah. And just the new relationships that we've been able to build through that and the support that we've been able to be through something like that. So, yeah, a real mix, positives, negatives, but the goal remains the same at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. During this time, do you feel like there's anything that you're really learning or that the Lord's really teaching you? Anything that's really hitting you hard as actually this is new, this is something that I've not known before or experienced before?
I guess, I feel in some ways there's lots kind of like mulling around in the mind at the moment, for me, and I'm sure for others. And I think there's a sense in which everybody's kind of reevaluating life on a personal level and on a more corporate level. I think for me, I guess some of the things that I've been thinking through particularly are things around priorities. What do I feel my own personal priorities are, and what do I want them to be as we move out of lockdown? Just mindful that life can be such a busy rush of things, and sometimes the things that really are your priorities are the things that are squeezed out. And in some ways, lockdown, I think, has given an opportunity to reevaluate that and to refocus on those things.
Yeah.
I think another thing which has struck me is just sort of around the simplicity of life and just appreciating the simple things that we have. There's in our culture such a desire for more all the time, and actually, I guess in this season we've been very restricted as to what we've been able to do, what we've been able to take part in, and there's just been a sense of really finding refreshment in the simple things of life, of your immediate relationships, in creation, in simple things like walking and that type of thing, really. So just simplifying of life, and really valuing valuing that, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess for me it's sort of particularly around a reevaluation of what really matters, I guess.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Along with that, thinking about how you carry that forward beyond lockdown, because I think the fear, of course, is that you experience that in this season, and then as soon as life returns to normal
chaos resumes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, of course. Linked to that, I guess, how are you on a personal level connecting with God during this time? I imagine a lot of people with more time on their hands hopefully are using that time to pray, to worship, etc. What are you doing? Is there anything that you can recommend as something that you thought, actually, I've done this and I've found it really helpful?
Yeah, I think, in some ways, the ways in which I'm connecting with God in this season haven't really changed from what it was before. In terms of trying to help people, I did put a little series out on YouTube just around sort of how do we develop a sort of personal devotional life, which is on our YouTube channel, which people can watch, which I hope was practical and sort of manageable. I think for me, it's called Building an Altar at Home. Yeah, which is from a verse in 1 Samuel. But I think for me, as you mentioned, there's been a sense in which one of the things that I've kind of appreciated in this time is that I've been a little bit more free to use my time as I want to. I've been a little bit more in control of my diary in some ways, because so many other things are not happening, like the school run and that type of thing. So I've actually found it really refreshing. I feel like I've had longer, as you implied, longer to spend with God, and felt less pressure on that time, which I've really appreciated. I guess for me, like the three sort of components of my connections with God, that what I sort of do would be around sort of worship, would be around reading the scriptures and prayer. So they would sort of be the building blocks of what I do each day to sort of to develop and to maintain that connection. I can say more about them if you want, but yeah. I
think worship is such an accessible thing to access. If you've got a YouTube access or Spotify or anything, there's a huge amount out there. Is there anything that you're feeling particularly drawn to at the moment? Is there any recommendations, I guess?
If I'm honest, I feel a little bit like, so in terms of worship music, I have some Spotify playlists that I kind of sometimes use, but for me, I don't spend a massive amount of time listening to worship music every day, like I will do from time to time. I guess for me, when I think about worship, I guess for me, it's really about just trying to develop like a continual sense of gratitude and awareness and affection for God, and that just flows through the day really, and is something that is sort of just part of my continual conversation with Him. And various things kind of aid that. So yes, sometimes listening to worship music, I use that as a sort of a tool. I think for me particularly the Psalms are really important in terms of my worship. I think they really inspire worship for me. I think just simple things like just being in the garden, just seeing creation is another thing that really inspires me to worship. I find one of the most spiritual things to do is just simply watch Wildlife on One or David Attenborough programs. I just find it just really moving, and just so I think for me worship is I like singing and listening to music, but it's more than that. It's sort of around just trying to develop that constant sort of sense of affection and gratitude towards God. And I think it's, in terms of, for me, like with the Bible reading. So at the moment I'm reading through Paul's epistles. I take one letter a day and read through the letter well, actually, I say the pause. I've done pause. I'm now reading. I've read 1 John today. But there's so much in that inspires worship. And so for me, that sort of sense of worship and scripture and prayer is quite fluid. And I'll read something in 1 John. There's so much in there about God's love for us and the way that he demonstrates his love for us. It just kind of inspires worship in that moment. And so often what I find in my times with the Lord is I'll flow from worship into the scriptures and then into prayer and then back, and it's more of a fluid thing.
Okay.
But yeah, certainly Spotify worship playlists are fantastic, for sure.
That's really good. Love it. One final question, and I fully appreciate it's a hard one to answer because we don't know what the world will look like moving forwards. We don't know what will change. But what excites you looking to the future? What things have you experienced through lockdown? You think, actually, I'm excited about what we can do with this, how we could use it?
Yeah, I'm really excited about getting a haircut. and going to a restaurant.
Are you not keen to Dooley just have a good hack? See what happens?
I'm not sure Julie's really keen on the look at the moment, so I'm excited about dealing with some of that. I think it's a tricky one to answer, but I guess the reality is that I'm fairly convinced that our experience has changed us and will change us, and not just change us, but change the world. And obviously the experience is going to carry on. It's not going to end in a week or something. The impact of coronavirus in all sorts of ways is going to continue. And so I feel that the world is going to be a different place as a result. And I mean, I guess in terms of what excites me, just on a very local level, I do feel excited about the relationships that we've been able to build with people in this season in a new way. I feel excited about the way that communities have come together, and particularly the role that we as a church have been able to play in that. And I feel excited about, I guess, what ministry might look like when we come out of lockdown, because I think our eyes have been opened to more opportunities to both share the good news of the gospel, but also to demonstrate it. So I feel excited about that. I'm sure technology is going to play a big part in that, and just I guess I feel excited about maintaining and developing a kind of an online presence, and seeing what comes from that. I think one of the things that excites me as well about the future is, and I've spoken a little bit to the church about, or alluded to the time of the exile, where Daniel and his friends were in exile, and they had to sort of figure out a new way of being Jewish, in a sort of a decentralized context. You know what I mean? A lot of the things that was central to their faith, the temple, Jerusalem and stuff, was taken away from them, and they had to learn what it was to be a disciple, if you like, in a very different context. And I think that's a really valuable lesson. And I think speaking to people, I think that's something that a lot of us have been journeying through and learning about. And so in some ways, I feel excited about what's just going to come from people's own experiences of deepening their faith, deepening their relationship with Jesus. In this season, and in a way, what's going to come from individuals as a result of that. Because I do feel there's been a decentralization, things that are no longer focused on a building or on a Sunday morning service. It's much more focused in people's homes, in people's individual lives, in discipleship in the workplace and that type of thing. And that's all stuff that we talk about quite a bit, but I guess I feel this has taken that to a new level. And it's exciting to think about what might come from that.
Amazing. If there is one thing, or a few things that people in the church can be praying for you specifically, I know people are praying for you already. I'm sure they will be continuing to pray for you, but it's great for prayers to be specific. And so, if there's anything specific that you would like people to be praying into, what would that be? We're really mindful that people pray for us and uphold us in prayer, and we are really thankful for that. I think
I think prayer for wisdom is always important, but particularly at this time, as we begin to move out of this phase into something that we don't really know what it's going to look like. Just for wisdom around that, not just for me, but for the leadership team at St Philip's as a whole, that we sense what it is the Spirit's doing in this season and walk in step with that. I think that would be probably at the moment my key prayer for us as a church, I think, and for me as the leader, along with the others that share that with me. So I'd appreciate that.
Amazing. Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for your time.
You're very welcome.
I will end it there.